back, shop rats. Today here in the shop, we're back on the Stitches Challenger, taking another bite out of Stitches. Let's watch the show intro. I'll see you in about 30 seconds. I'm Mike, and this is my car shop.
Working out of a 100-year-old refurbished barn, bringing 35 years of experience to projects considered beyond repair. Vision, creativity, and problem solving are essential tools in this place. Watch as we transform junk into polished metal miracles. This is My Cars Shop.
If you've been around the channel for any length of time, then you will have heard me say it once. You've heard me say it 1,000 times. We eat the elephant one bite at a time. The beautiful thing is, it doesn't have to be just a 70 Challenger that you're working on, because the stuff that we do here can apply to pretty much any restoration, preservation, or any other kind of project that you're doing on an older car like this, or I suppose even a newer one. These projects can be completely overwhelming, and we try to break things down into little bite-sized pieces so that we can make the project manageable and always feel like we're making forward motion. Well, we've done a lot of work under the car, and we, I think in the last episode, it was, apparently something's falling over. In the last episode, we had gotten the 4-speed transmission, and I pulled the tail shaft off of that, and we got that mounted on the cross member to be able to determine where the shift rods go. The shifter adapter that bolts to that tail shaft should be here today, but it won't be here till later today, so I thought we'd go ahead and get back on what I was actually intending to do in the last episode, which was work on the top side of that rear axle pan that we cleaned up on the underside last time. There's a few little repairs we need to do there, but I want to get after it on the top with the wire wheel, get it cleaned up, and then hopefully we can show you how to do a cool little fiberglass repair. So this is the pan that I'm referring to here. We cleaned that up on the bottom side a while ago, and I want to go ahead and get it cleaned up on the top side. And there's a few little rust holes in one or two of those channels up there that the panel doesn't need to be replaced. It's in really good shape except for those two little spots where it held some moisture and some dirt. And so I had alluded to a fiberglass repair that we do on small pinholes like that. And then, lo and behold, Just Mopar Joe took that same technique, unbeknownst to me and him unbeknownst to what I was talking about, and demonstrated it with a different product. And I really like what he did, so we're going to go ahead and do that on this project. But I'm getting ahead of myself, which is common because apparently I like to talk a lot. So let's stop talking and get to work. Not an easy place to get to at all, but I think this is where we will try to do the bulk of our work. So as you saw in a couple episodes ago, we have the trunk floor pan to put in here, but we've got a bunch of cleanup and trimming and stuff to do in here. And as big of a pain as it's going to be to do this when it's on the rotisserie, from the standpoint of trying to work around all of this, I think that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And I had determined that I'm going to cut most of this off and just use probably from about, I'll cut this off here like so. That cuts off a good 8 to 10 inches, and that pan will pretty much just drop right in to the car. We'll use as much of the back as we can. So some of you were commenting on how that won't fit through the opening. It might if I was really pushy, but I don't want to. When I can just trim it down and make it work. If I have to split it down the middle, I actually wouldn't split it down the middle. I probably would split it about right here and do it in 2 pieces, which I still might do. But I want to try to preserve as much of this other metal as possible. It's in good shape, and that will make life a whole lot easier than having to remove the tail light panel and all that. So anyway, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you can see we got some Swiss cheese down in there, and this spot here is actually worse than I thought, but it's still structurally pretty darn good, so I don't know that I'm going to worry about it. But we'll flip the car up from the bottom side and see what it looks like. But everything else is good there. We got a little teeny bit of Swiss cheese in here. That's no big deal there at all. But yeah, this is a little worse than I expected, and that's to be expected. Well, that there is a little worse than I expected, and that's to be expected. So here's our Swiss cheese. It's all cleaned up on the other side, of course. Being as this is solid, I'm just going to go ahead and do the fiberglass cloth patch on it like we talked about. It's not visible. It'll save me a ton of time, and yeah, that's what we're going to go ahead and do. It's not as bad as what it looked like from the top side. I mean, it's if it was much worse than that, I would be definitely 100% just cutting out a piece and making that channel. But you know, it is what it is. The rest of the panel is good, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And we got a couple little teeny tiny holes here as well, so we'll get those fixed up. But yeah, I want to get inside the car and look at it from the other side, make sure I didn't miss any rust cleanup before we go ahead and start this repair. Okay, we got a piece of fiberglass cloth here. I believe this is a piece that Joe had for the Charger, because we did a similar repair on the 69 Charger on the floor pans, but we used fiberglass resin instead of the Port 15. And that's what I wanted to mention is, you know, this is nothing new. It's nothing exotic. I've been doing this for, I don't know, 30 years probably, using these little patches like this with fiberglass for small spots like this. I just never done it with Port 15 before. And so that's really interesting. I was thankful to Joe. As a matter of fact, Joe and I were talking about it a little bit, and just how cool it is that he did that, because I had the very day that I saw his video was the day I was talking about the floor up here and talking about showing you the technique for using this stuff. And lo and behold, here he did a video on it that very day using Port 15. So, and the thing I like about the Port 15 is it's a rust converting product. So that's pretty good there. You got a nice little patch for that one. Now let's cut a little strip for the next one. Context, context, context. I can't say that enough. You know, that other stuff is so small. Those pinholes are so small there. I don't think I'm going to use the fiberglass. I don't need the reinforcement there. I think we'll just daub the Port 15 in there, brush it in real good, and that'll do the job. Stuff does take quite a while to dry, so we'll get that done, and this is going to take several hours of iteration here to get this all done. But I got to go in the house and get it because I forgot to bring it up today. I'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. In an ideal world, it would be nice to have a little brush, but I don't happen to have one handy, so I'm going to do the right thing and just use my glove. And first thing we'll do is go back and touch up those little holes back in the back. So we'll daub some down into there. Like I said, it's nice because it's a rust converting product. So, okay, I think we got those holes filled in there. Simple as that. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of this down first, and then press the fiberglass cloth down into that. Smelly stuff. Okay, now we will try to keep our ungloved hand out of it, and I'm not putting a glove on my other hand because I like to be able to, well, for one thing, I got to hold myself up and feel around and stuff like that, but I like to be able to have a hand that I can feel with. I just have to make sure that I'm very conscious about staying out of the goop. Got a couple wild hairs in there, but that'll be fine. We'll trim those out later. That one came out now, that's good. Let's get a little down in there now. That's way too much. That'll be perfect. Oh good, it came out. Very good. And like any other product, the key is don't get carried away. Don't try to put on, 10,000 layers of it at once. Just put on a nice thin coat. Okay, I'm gonna go flip her up now and we'll show you what the bottom looks like and see if we need to just touch things up a little bit down there. And then we'll have to come back maybe and do another coat, or I don't know what we'll do, but it's looking pretty good. A little thick right there. It's probably going to need a second coat. The goal here is just to get it glued down and give us some structure. So there we go. All right, I'll get you over closer so you can see what it looks like. And always put the cover back on your tube so you don't step on it or lay on it or, something. Okay, you can see we got little Koopa gobbers pointing down here. I'm just gonna brush those over a little bit. Oops, yeah, see, I took and should have left those hang down like that, but I didn't. I wiped it away instead of, there we go. No, I'm gonna have to put a little cloth on that one. It's a little big. The other ones are okay. So we'll go up above, no big deal. We'll go up above and put some cloth on that. This one here, I wanna come down and cover a little bit. Okay, there we go. Got a couple little sharp edges there, but we'll get those out after this stuff dries. Okay. We'll have to touch that up from the other side once again, but it's pretty good overall. Not looking for perfection, just looking to keep the dirt out and convert the rust. So yeah, we got we're gonna lay a little piece of cloth in there. It won't be much, but it didn't hold and it was goober gobbering down, so there's nothing there to retain the Pour 15. So I probably should have done that in the first place, but I haven't used this before, so one little spot right there that's kind of, there we go. Every time you get it, leave it alone. So apparently the gloves are very old. I've had those for 10 or 15 years, probably 15 years. And so apparently I blew a hole in the end of my glove finger. Oh well, no big deal. Okay, it's a little bit rough on the surface, but remember, again, I could smooth it out better, but we're gonna put lizard skin on the bottom of this car. So many of these minor imperfections are gonna be virtually gone by the time that happens. And besides that, it's the bottom of the car. Context of the vehicle, it's stitches. So I think that's good. The main thing is all the holes are plugged now. And I'm sure we can come back and dress that up a little bit if we want later, maybe put a second coat on, stuff like that. But I wanted to get it like embedded between, this is how I would do it with fiberglass, is get it embedded, with gel on both sides. And now you've got a baseline you can work with once this stuff dries. All right, went through and put a little bit of, actually those little spider webs that I had taken out of the big patch were just laying in there, and I laid those in that little channel where the couple spots had not been sealing up and filled them right in. So I was actually just texting with Joe, and if you haven't checked out his channel, please do that. I'll put a link up here if I remember. Just Mopar Joe, great guy. He and I were just conversing a little bit about this, and I was curious because he's done this before and I haven't. And he said, let it dry 4 to 6 hours, and it takes, you can sand it some, and it's really, really hard when it dries. He said as hard as Chinese arithmetic, which literally made me laugh out loud. But so we're gonna let that dry. So we're gonna move on to other things, and we'll come back to that a day or 2 or 6 or 4 hours from now, or I don't know. But I was thinking we'd probably want to go ahead and start looking at the driver's or the passenger side floor and getting some of that cleaned up and see where we want to go from there. We've got obviously patches to make. I'm not ready to really start fabricating, although today is a nice cool day to be doing that. I'm thrilled with the weather today. It's a perfect day to be out here doing this without dying to death. But anyway, let's get the wire brush in there and tear it up, because I'm still waiting on this transmission shifter adapter to get here. Come on, Amazon! Actually, I don't think it's coming from Amazon because I ordered it from Brewers Performance. It's probably coming U.S. mail, so It could be here. I haven't checked the mail yet. We've shown this before, but I'm going to go ahead and make a patch to put up in that area there. But we've got a little Swiss cheese over here. I'm going to put a little patch here because this was a floor plug that's missing. The rest of this is going to get that Pour 15 treatment all the way over. So we're going to get our wire brush and get that cleaned up. I'm even looking at this in here, and I think we'll do that Pour 15 treatment here. That's going to be fine. And then when we get back into this area, we've got this piece here, like I said. We're going to go ahead and make a patch for maybe all of this. I'm not sure yet here, but I think the place to start is by right now just getting up in here. But you can see how solid all of that is, and there's no point in cutting all that out and replacing it for what this car is. Context, context, context. As you've heard me say before, contexts just aren't the text messages you get from your relatives and listeners. Okay, we got a bit more Swiss cheese there than I was expecting, and that's fine. That's what it's all about. Seeing what the condition is and deciding what needs to be done and what doesn't. So, we'll do a little couple patches there. That'll be fine. We'll do a little patch there, and then I think we'll make a pan for this right here, and that'll be fine. Not worried about that little teeny bit there. I was hoping we could just do some Pour 15 patches, but I really don't want to lay a whole sheet of, I could. I know that when I worked in the body shop, we had some customers that would see something like that, and they would just have us lay a sheet of fiberglass cloth on there and go ahead and fiberglass it up and make it pretty. Not going to do that here. Even I have some standards. So yeah, it won't be a big deal to make a piece to go there. And we'll see what we end up with, whether we're going to make a little piece there maybe or not. But I'm going to go ahead and shoot some rust conditioner on this just so that we can get it cleaned up. I got a couple of those spots to do by hand. I couldn't quite get in there. So well, maybe I'll just take that cranny cross member off of there and get it done. Okay, obviously I didn't rust treat this side of that panel there where we know we're going to be cutting a big chunk out. But I went ahead and rust conditioned anything that I think I might try to salvage. We got some patching to do there. That's probably going to be more than a Pour 15 fiberglass patch. We may just patch up those toe boards with the Pour 15. I'm not sure yet. Get the heater box out of here eventually. And we'll got a bunch of work to do up there. But I really haven't done anything on the other side even from here up. So we're making progress here. Flip it over, show you the other side. Drying up nicely, looking good. So you can see how things are transformed. And I, quite frankly, honestly, even though I know we're replacing that one chunk there, I just shot that with the rust conditioner just because it emotionally feels good to see progress on the car. Stuff like that. So yeah, we've got to do the other fender well, obviously, and the frame rail on the outside. We haven't done anything in the engine compartment, but little bite by little bite. So, my next goal soon here is to go ahead and get that floor pan done. I checked delivery on the shift adapter, and it should be delivered today sometime. So the mail usually gets here around noon. It's earlier than I thought it was today, so it's probably getting closer to noon now. But when I went out to the mailbox a while ago, it was only 11 o'clock. So I'm just a little bit ahead of the game. I'm usually not an early starter, and I didn't get out here until 10 o'clock, so it's not like I was out here early. But yeah, we've been out here for a couple hours. We've made progress, so that's good stuff. I checked our patches in here, and they're drying up nicely to the touch now, so we're going to be able to make those look really pretty real soon. We'll give them a few more hours yet, but I think it's time to take a break for lunch and then decide what I'm doing next. So that was a good lunch, and I went out and checked the mail, and we had the package from Brewers Performance. So let's open this baby up. See what we got. Thanks to my buddy John over at Life at Speed. He's the one that suggested I look at Brewers, and I had been looking at other companies, and these parts were significantly more expensive there. Other companies to remain nameless. I don't know about y'all, but these are one of my favorite things about getting packages is getting stickers and sale ads and all kind of stuff. So we'll look at that later. And we get newspapers from other parts of the country. In this case, it's Ohio, I believe is where they're from. Yeah, so this is not a factory piece. This is actually machined from billet. It's a very nice piece. Bolts onto the side of that transmission, and then the shifter should bolt right onto that. Probably with a different set of bolts than this, but yep, it will. They provided all the bolts as well. Yeah, this one's stuck in the sleeve, so we'll have to fix that. But Cuban players support protesters. What do you know about that? Oh, this is the USA Today. It's not even an Ohio paper. So it comes with all new bolts. So there we go. Viola. Voila. Oh, I had it backwards anyway. I had it wrong. Yep, they're the right size bolts. Okay, good. So the shifter bolts that go through there, and then the 3 bolts that bolt it to the tail housing. So we'll go ahead and get that bolted onto the tail housing just because we can. I'm going to go ahead and chase the tail housing bolts, holes I should say. I think it's 3/8 course, of course. Highly recommend chasing your threads. Sometimes I'll use a screw gun for this, but I want to be extra careful, partly because I don't know if I have any more of these caps. I probably do, but better safe than sorry. Put a little doobadabber in the holes. Full of dirt. See if our bolts fit okay now. Just like downtown, only not as crowded. Better go find my Allen tool. I believe it's a 5/16 Allen wrench. Very nice. Bolts through there nicely. Let's see if this bolt's in there. Yeah, I'm not using that bolt, but I gotta do a little tink, tink, tink and get that cleaned out. And if I remember right, there's supposed to be a sleeve in here also, but maybe not. But this will work for now. Bolts on there beautifully. It's beautiful. Okay, let's get this bolt out of here. I'm just going to take this over to the vise, take a hammer, tink, 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 tink a little bit, loosen it up, get that bolt out, and we'll put the new bolt in. All right, so that's going to take time that I don't have to get that out of there, so I just ran a die over it real quick. It's going to take some heat. That's in there really hard. But I've got this definitely bolted down now, and we can take this, put it in the car, and see how we're coming out. Oh yeah, I also want to show you how to remove a shifter handle out of one of these spring-loaded ones, so let's remember to do that. Oh yeah, I'm a dummy. Well, maybe not. Maybe I can slip it through this way. Nope, I can't. I either needed to put the mount on here, or I needed to leave the shifter off. So let's just take the shifter back off. Well, maybe I can get it in there. Yeah, maybe I can if I'm careful. Yeah, my mount down here is a bit loose because I don't think I have the right size bolts in there, but that's fine. Let's see if we can snake it through this way. Nope. Okay, gotta take the shifter back off. Ah, that's heavy. Ugh. I can't even imagine trying to do this with the whole transmission. Hulky diners. Okay, that's progress. So, from what I am seeing online, both looking at the shifter rods that are available from Brewers, which I'm going to go ahead and order ASAP, I think my cross member is just a bit wide here because the shifter rods come back and then they hoop in just a little bit. So these two are close to clearing. The reverse one has a big hoop in it that goes over that way like that to reach down in here. So I'm going to have to go ahead and order those shifter rods. But I think what's going to have to happen is I need to go here. Let's see, where am I at? I need to go, I think, in here and trim this down. Follow that line down like so. Maybe trim this a little bit there, but not much. And then bring this back. And so it's same thing here. We'll come and trim this down. But I want to get the shifter rods first. But I think they come back. And then a little bit and that way. And I know the reverse one comes back and goes like whoop, whoop, and way the heck over. It's really whoom, down in like that. So we're close. They may clear as it is. I'm going to order them. You can see I have my special factory spacer in there to kind of hold everything square. And something else. This is a spring type of shifter handle. I'll show you how to pop those out of there. And this is a bolt-on type. And so at some point here, I'm going to modify this shifter to take the bolt on. I don't want to shove that in there because I may not get it back out because it still has the spring retainer in there. But I'm going to take the shifter off real quick and show you how to pop this other shifter handle out because it's different. There are two types of shifters. There's the dual bolt, which this is not. That's what my pistol grip here is, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Or there's the spring type. And there's a little notch here, and down in here there's a little spring tab. It's only on the driver's side of the shifter. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one back in there to show you how to take it apart. Okay, so that's in there now, and it's latched. Okay, so you take a feeler gauge, 10 thousandths feeler gauge. And that's locked in there now, you can see that. You usually have to soak the crap out of this with PV Blaster or something like that. You take a feeler gauge and the little spring clip, you shove this feeler gauge between the shifter and the spring clip. And it is a bugger to get it down in there. But you shove it down in there until it goes down and pushes that little spring clip. So it's got to go down in there a long ways. And you really got to force it to get it in there. It's a pain. I know when I first released this, I had a heck of a time releasing it. And I just buckled my feeler gauge. Just wiggle it down in there real good. I like to just try to wiggle, 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 wiggle. Okay, I think it's probably in there far enough. And I take my soft blow hammer and I just tap up on it. Nope, didn't get it. So it means we got to go down further. I know it can be done because I've done it and I just did it not that long ago. So you really got to shove that thing down in there. I don't think it's down in far enough yet. I keep bending the feeler gauge. I don't know if I can tap this down a little bit. They're a bugger. They are a pain in the neck. I will tell you that right now. It's helpful to wiggle the shifter a little bit too. Had to take my feeler gauge and straighten it out. So shove her down in there. It goes down in there about, I don't know, half an inch, something like that. And then I take my dead blow hammer, my soft blow hammer, and just, and out she comes. It's a bugger. I'm telling you, they are a bugger. But, and you'll pinch your finger like I did and stuff like that. But, and you'll make a nice little S out of your feeler gauge. But that's how they go. So that little clip only has to go down in there. Oh, it's about 3 or 4. Just about down to where that first bend is, which was actually factory in this gauge. It's just I made a second bend. But they're flexible. So anyway, now, I'm not going to go ahead and do the full conversion on this yet, but I'm going to pop these spring clips out of here, which I've done before. I hope. There we go. There's one side. So there's the one spring clip that doesn't actually retain anything. And then this is the other one. Well, it's kind of... there we go. Okay. Now they're both out of there. Now I'm not afraid to take and shove my pistol grip shifter down in there. Oops, a little bit wide. That's right. There's another thing that has to be done. It's been a long time. I've seen this done. There we go. It's just got dirt in there. Should fit in there. I could be wrong. I was wrong before. We may need to modify that just a bit, but nope, it'll go. Okay, there we go. Now there's more to do. This needs to go down in further, and you drill some holes through and tap and other stuff. But point is, we now have our pistol grip in a spring style shifter, so it can be done. I've not seen anybody else do that before. Well, I take that back. I did see somebody do it once, which is where I got the idea, but I don't know that anybody on the web has shown how to do this. So I will do a full tutorial on this at some point. But for now, I'm going to go put this back in the car. And by the way, from what I understand, this is not a console pistol grip shifter. Some people say that it's the non-console shifter. Some people say it's the bench seat shifter. I don't really care. As long as it looks good in my console, I'm happy with it because it's the one I have. From what I understand, the console pistol grip is a lot straighter. Doesn't quite come back as far. But I think this is cooler anyway. So, well, quite honestly, I can't say that I would hate that. And quite frankly, for a guy like me that's over 6'3", the seat is going to have to be back so far that swoop way back might actually be to advantage. Nice thing is, if it doesn't work out, it's easy enough to change that handle out once I modify this. But yeah, so we'll see. I can always put a different shifter in there, but I like it. I like it a lot. I wish I could throw the seat in there and get up in there and go. My neighbor, Paul, lives down the road about 3 miles, big Mopar guy. Called me a while ago and he said, "Hey, I got some seats. You want them?" I said, "What are they?" He sent me a picture. "Yeah, I'll take them." So there they are. They're out of a 2008 Charger. And power driver seat, it's missing the bracket on the passenger seat, but I may not even use the power anyway. But the seats are in decent shape, and they're going to look awesome in stitches. So thanks, Paul. I appreciate it. And they're going to get good use here in stitches. I really am looking forward to throwing a seat in there and seeing what that feels like. But as tall as I am and as far back as that seat's going to have to be, I don't think that extra swoop back is going to hurt a thing for me, as long as I'm not shifting here. Of course, the other question will be, will Becky be able to drive it with the seat forward, because her legs are about this long? But it'll be what it is. So, all right, we've made a lot of progress, and I think that's about it for today. I'm waiting for that pour 15 to dry. It's almost dry to the touch. So we'll visit that in our next session. We'll get back on some floor pan work, and I got to order those shift rods from Brewers. I wasn't planning to do that yet. I was hoping I could just eyeball it, but that ain't going to work. So I will have to run upstairs and pull the transmission levers off of another transmission at some point and make sure they're right. But I think as long as I have the rods and I can kind of eyeball, you know, we're going to have to modify that upper hoop. I'm almost positive, but that's no big deal, and that's part of fabricating. That's part of what I like, is sometimes you have to go back and redo stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, that'll do it. We're over on the Face thing, Instagram. She loves us too, /mycarshop. Of course, we're here on the U thing, so hit subscribe, hit that bell so you receive those notifications that you know when our next episode comes out. We, without fail, so far, have put out episodes on Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday morning at 7 o'clock. Oh, that'll do it. I appreciate you being here, and don't forget to check out Just Mopar Joe. Thanks for the pour 15 tip with the fiberglass cloth. I appreciate it, buddy. And one more thing, don't forget, it's really important.